All right, here we go. Next session, DYOR, do your own research, do your own due diligence. So how are you finding it so far? Have you been enjoying the sessions? I can't believe the people that joined to start, like how many hours ago is it now? 2.5 hours ago, are still here. Amazing. So I guess it's kind of interesting and you're following along and I appreciate that. And I also appreciate you watching the replay or the recording. So let me know in the chat how you're finding it. What have you loved most so far? In this session, we are going to have a look at what your council are looking for. You're going to get to test the market. So I know at the beginning, there was a couple of people said they're really worried about getting customers. How are you feeling about that now? Now that you've seen the survey, you've heard from the Primalistas, you're going to test the market in your area in this session. And you're going to get to try a recipe or not. Intriguing, hey? All right, so in general, quick fire, the things that council are looking for are sealed benches and floors, a clean kitchen in good order. They want you to be able to store your ingredients separately, and that's mostly to avoid cross-contamination. So if we're, we've got grain-free food, so you don't really want it next to the wheat bix in the pantry, right? They need you to keep pets and kids out of the production zone, which is the new name for your kitchen when you start a food business from home. And they want to see no evidence of pests. So no rodents, no cockroaches, that kind of thing. And this is all fair enough, right? If you imagine that you're buying some food from somewhere, you'd want it to be prepared in a clean kitchen, right? So it's all pretty straightforward. However, the sorts of things that people think they need to have for council are not necessarily true. And this is, the reason I'm sharing this is because in my Facebook ads that go out to just a cold market, they don't know me from a bar of soap. The main comments that come on the threads of these adverts are that you need a commercial kitchen to sell food from home. And that's not true. So you don't need a commercial kitchen. You don't need stainless steel bench tops. You don't need to find homes for your pets, new homes for your pets. You don't need to turn your house into a factory, and you don't need a kitchen reno. Now, whether you think council are going to tell you to do a kitchen reno or not, a lot of people that I speak to on Primalista calls, and bearing in mind I've done about 800 Primalista calls in the time of selling the license, right? A lot of people think, oh, my kitchen's not going to pass, so therefore we need to renovate the kitchen first before I can even think about it. And you just start to sort of put all of these obstacles in front of you. It's a bit like when Mike and I thought we wanted to go camping. And now that I know my values, I know that I am not a camper, right? Anyway, back then, pre-kids, we thought we'll go camping. So like, right, let's write a list of things that we need to go camping. So, we had a tent, sleeping bag, fair enough. Plates and cups and knives and forks. And then we decided that we probably need a 4-wheel drive to get to the places we wanted to go camping, which just meant we were never going to go camping, right? And it's an interesting thing when we put blocks up, because sometimes we can put a block up like doing a kitchen reno to keep ourselves safe. Oh, well, I'll never do that because that's too expensive. I'm never going to go there. But it can also be a really indicator as to whether you actually want to do it or not. I mean, with hindsight, I didn't really want to go camping. So therefore, I made it impossible for me to go camping, right? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Some things to consider for council are you renting? So the majority of Primalistas are renting their home. And I sent an email out a couple of weeks ago with a bit of a script of what you can send to your landlord, to your letting agency first, to make sure that it's okay for you to do this business from home before you invest in a license. And the key things that that your landlord is looking for is that there's not going to be any extra wear and tear on their property. It's not going to be a traffic issue. You're not going to have customers come into your house. It's not going to be a noise issue. And so those are the sort of main things you want to get across, that it's a micro business, no extra wear and tear, no extra insurance required from them in most cases. Cancel is a necessary process. If you want to be a legit food producer, you do have to register as a food business. And that's just mostly so that, you know, in the case somebody gets ill, they know where they can track back to the food producer to make sure, you know, that everything's above board and clean and there aren't any issues. So this is just, it's not just for home food producers, it's for every food business. And the correct application, attitude, and approach are really essential. It can be common to get an initial no if you just ring up council and say, "Hi, can I make some turmeric and hemp seed bread from home?" And they'll be like, "That is hemp seed legal, Bob?" I don't think so. No, I don't think you can do that. It sounds dodgy, you know, like because you haven't given them the right information, right? 78% of Primalistas said that getting approved was a fairly straightforward process. And a lot of the battle has been taken out of developing a brand like this, such as the labels, which have to be Food Standards Australia, New Zealand compliant. This label actually isn't compliant at the moment. Well, it is compliant, but it's in the process of a big revamp, a big re-clarify. It's hard to talk for this long. We're redoing the labels at the moment as we speak. So that's what Paula was referring to. You know, she doesn't have to worry about that, what goes on the label and whether you can say this and whether you can say that, and how you have to highlight the, you know, the allergenic foods. You don't have to worry about any of that. You can just focus on baking and getting product to customers, which is hugely liberating. So the resources that we have available for your compliance with Cancel include the Food Safety Program, which I gave you a bit of a look at in the info session, an Environmental Health Officer's letter template, an EHO checklist, which is kind of like troubleshooting to help you answer the form, because the form can be a bit mind-boggling, because remember, again, that's covering everything from your small food business right through to a large restaurant chain. Okay, so the language can be sometimes confusing. You're not sure where you fit in that box. So that EHO checklist can help with that. We're going to do your homework. We are going to check your council on the website. And that the main reason that I want to do this is because I want you to be able to see and do your own research that yes, you can do this from home before you decide to invest in a license or not. So we're going to check your council website and have a look at the food safety program. Here we go. So the best way to research your council is just to add in your local town home-based food business registration. And I'm just going to click on here. So I am in the Shire of Denmark and home produced food. And this is the sort of thing you want to be looking for on your council website at this stage, just to make sure that you can see evidence that your council will approve it. So the sorts of foods that are permitted from home are what's technically known as low risk or not potentially hazardous. And that includes things like flour products such as bread, cakes, and scones. So that's where our products fall in that category. And also our jellies technically fall under what council know as jams. So to get our information across to council as to what we're actually doing, in the Primalista resource bank under food business registration, you'll find a checklist which will basically help you filling out the council form and help you with any strange questions. But obviously you can also ask me and all the other Primalistas who've already done this. You will get an application letter, which is basically a cut and paste letter, which I'll show you in a minute, and our food safety program. So in the food safety program, you can get, it's a beautiful document, and you can get a link just to send across to council. But this is an idea of what is in the food safety program, I'm just going to press pause and with the magic of television, show you a couple of pages that I like the most. So one of the great things that's in the food safety program is an example of one of our labels so that the council can see that everything is labeled correctly and in line with the food safety, food standards, Australia and New Zealand. I also want to scroll down a bit more without making you feel a little bit car sick. So hold on for a moment. Here we are. So it also defines our method. So essentially our recipes, but without giving away the recipes. So it will tell council what is in our pumpkin loaf, zucchini loaf, what it is, and how we make it, like what's in it. So we've got the ingredients, how we make it. So we bake it at 180 degrees, how it's packaged, how it's stored, how it is, how we're going to manage food safety and how we're going to dispatch and transport it and what it's for, which is hugely helpful and saves you a lot of pulling of information together. And the final thing I wanted to show you was the lab testing. So we've had all of the Primal alternative products sent into a lab to have them tested for all the common things that are tested in labs, and also analysed by a technician to let council know that our products are low risk and not potentially hazardous, which is fantastic. And finally, here is our cut and paste letter for your environmental health officer, which explains what it is you're trying to do, what you're enclosing, how large your business is going to be, etc., and that you're very willing and helpful. Yeah, so hopefully that will really make you feel like, okay, my council might be the worst in my eyes, but I know that if I just give them the right information, that this will be possible for me too. All right, so I've cut and pasted some of the things that council are looking for from a council website, and then I'm just going to translate it into ye olde commoner speak, like just normal language. So proprietors are required to have planning approval to undertake a home occupation. So it's true. So you have to get, first of all, the first step is to speak to the Department of Planning to make sure it's okay to have a business from home, which it will be. So an application to include a detailed floor plan. So they just want to see where your kitchen fits in your house. So hopefully you've got some plans from your house, but if you don't, you can hand draw it. Just steal some graph paper from your kid's school book and draw it. It doesn't have to be too fancy. You definitely don't need to get a drafts person to draw some stuff up for you. So the premises must be kept in a good order and repair and shall be maintained in a clean and hygienic. So you've got to have a clean kitchen. You've got to have hot and cold running water. You need to have sinks. You need to have somewhere to wash your hands. You need to have a fridge. You need to have a separate storage place for your dry ingredients other than your where you use your household stuff. So most Primalistas will have an extra shelf in their pantry. If you don't have the space, you can do what I did, which was just to use those stackable plastic storage boxes from Bunnings, and you can just put them wherever you want and just wheel them out on bake day. So your fixtures and fittings and appliances need to be clean and hygienic. Fair enough, they probably already are. We don't want to have any rats. It says no domestic animals to have access to the house. It's usually just for when you're baking. And usually most councils are happy for you just to lock your cat in the bedroom. They're probably already on your bed anyway. But a really top tip is to have your have the stage set as if you are baking when the environmental health officer comes around, because they do it on case by case. So if they get to your house and you've got a big hairy dog in the kitchen, they'll probably say no, because they probably think that's what you'll do when they're not there. Okay. So again, you can't have your kids around, because we've all baked with under 5-year-old kids and we all know hands go in bowls and that's not very hygienic. You need to be able to chuck your rubbish out and have a clean bin. Food handling, labeling. I've put the transport one in brackets because our food can go to the stockist at room temperature. So we don't need like a chilled van for delivery, which is really good. You need to have new packaging. So when I first started out, people were asking me, I don't want, because we used to have plastic bags before we found out about compostable packaging, which is so much better. That was great. And Primalista found that, not me. It's great, right? It's great brains trust of amazing people. And people would say to me, can you just give me my love in a tea towel or a waxy wrap? And the thing is, as much as I'd probably say, yeah, that's fine, council don't like it. So it needs to be wrapped, it needs to be labeled, and it needs to be new packaging every time. Fair enough, right? You got to know food safety and handling, and you've got to say that it's okay for a kitchen inspection. So that's usually a very scary time. People have been up all night cleaning their kitchen before their inspection, and then the environmental health officer comes and just gives it a cursory glance. Didn't even look in those cupboards that you cleaned. Anyway, so that's interesting, fun to know, right? So the next part of do your own research is your customer base. So who would you love as your customers? So Primal Alternative does really well at places like farmers market, IGAs, health food shops, cafes, online. So Facebook, Instagram, buy, swap and sell, marketplace, and obviously to your friends and family networks as well. So who would you love as your customers? Can you think of at least 3 to 5 places to approach? Now, this is something that we cover on the call, and we check the stockist page to make sure that those stockists aren't already being spoken to. But this is something you can do yourself, and I'll show you how in a moment. And it's really key to understand this, that we haven't saturated the market yet. And if you think about, like, if a Primalista was to come into Denmark now, where Amy is, I've already had a chat to Amy about this, so this is for real. But there's more than enough stockists and customer potential. You know, Amy said for her very busy, sporty lifestyle, she literally runs all those basketball competitions. She does all the fixtures, netball, then it's footy season. She just does so much. She's incredible. I don't know how she's so organized. So she doesn't have time to do markets. So there is capacity for somebody in the same town as a real life Primalista to have customers as well. And if you think back to that infographic of how much do I need to bake to earn $600 odd, that's only 80 products, you know. And if you think an average customer will buy, you know, maybe 1 to 4 products from you, you maybe only need 20 to 30 families that you're baking for to have the income that you're looking for. It can be really beneficial to have other Primalistas nearby to share freight on shipping. And also, if you run out of labels or if you run out of ingredients, which happens quite common, you can just nip round to somebody's house. I've done it with Amy. She's run out of bags. I've sent bags out with the baking starter kits. So I've taken her some bags, dropped them off at basketball, that kind of thing. So the Primal Alternative ethos is collaboration, not competition. And the way that that works in real life is that everybody charges the same price. So there's no undercutting. There's no competition, which is really awesome to know. So this is where you want to go and have a look to see where the other Primalistas are. So if you go to primalalternative.com/Primalistas, you can see we've got 19 in WA, 8 in South Australia, etc. Like so much scope for more home bakers. And Cindy O'Meara said that she loves the Primalista model so much. She said there should be a Primalista in every town so that every family can have access to home baked, decent food, which is really cool. And here's a list of our stockists. Again, you can see where stockists are. You can zoom in, you can type in your address here, your town, and it'll show you what stockists we've got in your town. So that can be a really good place to do your due diligence. So who's this for? Look, it's for women, okay, and men, but so far men have been 1% of the people who've joined up as a Primalista. So in general, it's for women who love healthy baking, who want to help others, who are looking for self-development. And it doesn't matter if that you don't have sales training background, or you feel a bit of lack of confidence. I'm not sure, this has worked for her, but I'm not sure it's going to work for me. That's not a problem, because the clarity and the confidence come as you start your business and as you start on this journey, and as you start taking those steps and being supported by the community along the way as well. So who's this not for? Quite interestingly, some of the calls we get from the very, very cold out there Facebook land expect that we will give them orders to bake every week. So it's really important to know that as a Primalista, you're responsible for your own business generation, your own sales. There will be stockist inquiries that come through the website that will be sent out to you, but it's important, and also online shop orders as well. But it's important to know that I see that as more like the cherry on the icing of your business cake, whereas the actual cake is down to you to make. So it's not for you if you're not willing to do the work, because stuff will come up. It's not just as simple as click and go and off we go. Lots of personal stuff will come up for you. I always say, whatever shiz you've got going on in there, when you start a business, here it comes. But what a wonderful way to work through that stuff and to move forward and to grow. And I guess as well, from a health consideration point of view, there's a lot of us on a health journey at Primal Alternative. If you've got issues with your knees, joints, back, it is manual labor being in the kitchen. I think a bake for me, I couldn't do any more than 4 or 5 hours on my feet in the kitchen with a heavy Thermomix bowl, the oven on. 4 or 5 hours is enough for me. So that's definitely something to consider, in terms of your health and what you're willing to do. So let's do your own research with the products. So you could try the grain-free herb recipe, grain-free herb bread recipe. So that's on the good old internet. So you can just type in Primal Alternative grain-free herb bread, and it will come up with a recipe that's very similar, but not the same as a Primal Alternative recipe. There's also a video on there of me that I just shot with my iPhone. It's not done with my lovely media man. But just to give you an idea of how easy the recipes are. But I think from seeing Amanda's baking demo, you've seen, right, that the recipes are measure, mix, and bake because they need to be replicable. And the majority of new Primalistas, they didn't try the products before they joined. What they based their decision on was the quality of the ingredients list, the brand reputation, and the time in the market. Because let's face it, if these products were rubbish, we would have not been around for a good while. But this is the 9th year as a brand. And so we can tell you that people do like the products. And the best way to actually try the products is on the inside as a Primalista, to not just try the products and see if you like them, but to try the process and see if you like that. There will be products you don't like I am not a fan of the triple choc keto cookies. I'm not a fan of erythritol. It's not something that I particularly want to eat, but I do know it's not about me. It's about our customers. And a lot of customers are looking for a low carb keto snack or treat that's crunchy and delicious. And that's for them. Whereas I'm much happier to eat the things like the granola. I'm so glad Primalista Amy makes the pastry, because I buy a lot of pastry. And I love the wraps. They would be my favorite products. Oh, and the cookies. So how to do your own research with Cancel. So head to your favorite browser, type in your Cancel name and home-based food business registration. So you might want to screenshot that one or write it down. Your Cancel home-based food business registration. And what you want to be looking for is just the same information that I showed you in that video when I looked at the Denmark Cancel, just so you can see for yourself that you can do a low-risk food business from home. How to do your own research with regard to testing the market. So write down your 3 to 5 customer potentials. And what you can do is potentially test the market for real on Facebook. And I'd love to see how this goes for you. So all you need to do is to go onto the Primal Alternative website. Website. Sorry, that's funny. Onto the Primal Alternative website, grab some screenshots of the products and to put that onto your Facebook page and just say, hey guys, I'm thinking of making something like this. Is this something you'd be interested in purchasing? And you don't need to get into the details at this stage. Like, you know, if you went into a shop, if you spoke to your local health food shop, they'd be asking, oh, what's the wholesale to retail price and what's the shelf life and what are the nips like and all those sorts of technical questions that are all in the brochures. So you don't have to like learn it all in your head. You can take the brochures along with you when you become a Primalista. But you can say, look, I just don't have those details yet, but just in general, do you have customers that are looking for grain-free, gluten-free, dairy-free, vegan, low-carb, keto breads and cereals and the like? And see how that goes. Now, every time I've had people do that, the response has been very encouraging. And it can just be that little seed of hope, or like that certainty that you need before you decide to embark on a business, to know that you're going to have customers, or you know you're going to have at least one stockist. How to do your own research with doubts and fears. I touched on this a little bit before, but I'm all for shining a light on doubts and fears and just going, okay, right, what's the worst that could happen? And just writing it all down and asking yourself, well, could I live with that? So what's the worst that could happen? Someone could say no. Well, nobody said yes yet. So you're technically already living your worst case scenario. Can you live with that? And also, being really aware of your doubts and fears can really help you to mitigate the risk. If you think, right, well, I really love the baking side, I love the community side, I love that it's all done for me, but I'm really not sure about if I'm going to get customers or not. Well, you can say to yourself, right, well, I need to make sure that I just absorb all the training that's there on how to get customers. And if I need extra help, I can book my session with H and we can strategize what I need to do to get the customers. And that'll help mitigate that worst case scenario. So we are in the last half an hour of this epic virtual open day. You know what? When I scheduled this, I didn't realize that I would be presenting for 4.5 hours. I didn't think that through. I've never presented for 4.5 hours before. And the next session is the final session. I'm going to be sharing my top tips for not just Primalista success, but success with how to take what you did in that first session and to turn it into something that's going to move you forward. So this is a must-watch session. I know you're probably getting a bit bored of my voice now, sick of my face, probably deciding that you hate my high forehead and my wonky eyebrows, and you're thinking, oh, when's this going to be over? Well, we've got about half an hour left. I'm also going to share some really ethical ways to get hubby on board, because believe it or not, that's the one main reason that potential Primalistas go from yes, I'm in, to actually it's not the right time, is lack of support from their partner. And it's not a bad thing. It's just how it is. I'm not saying anything or undermining anyone's relationship. Someone said that, stop undermining my relationship, H. I'm like, I'm not, I'm just trying to help. So this is after you've watched the final session, you're going to decide. It's like a choose your own ending, choose your own virtual open day ending, and decide on what you get to do next. So just a reminder, the intake is closing on the 24th of November. We're doing things differently. We're trying it a different way. You are doing the research now. You are sussing it all out for yourself. You don't need to get on a call with us or have a sales pitch. You can just watch the virtual open day and decide what you want to do. Here's that QR code and the link to join, primalalternative.com/join. And we are done. All right.